Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Anand Guru Vaishnavan ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Premzir Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Chamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana ki, Vrindavan Dham ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Jamuna Maya ki, Ganga Maya ki, Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki, Brihad Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution ki, ISKCON Ireland ki, Govinda Dvitan ki, Dublin Yatra ki, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, good morning. Welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class. This is in Castellini in Dublin. 1st of July. And it is on the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, text number 40. The son of Drona punished. So I'll read the Sanskrit and translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, text number 40.
Yes.
Sutavacha. Evam parikshata dharmam partha krishnena chodita naichadantam guru sutam yadapyat mahanam mahan Sutavacha evam parikshata dharmam partha krishnena chodita naichadantam guru sutam yadapyat mahanam mahan Sutuvacha evam parikshata dharmam partha krishnena chodita naichadantam guru sutam yajapyat mahanam mahan. And translation. Sutta Goswami Uvacha said evam this parikshata that's parikshata means being examined. Dharmam in the matter of duty. Partha Shri Arjuna. Krishnena by Lord Krishna. Chodita being encouraged. Naichat did not like. Hantam to kill. Guru Sutam the son of his teacher. Yadyapi although. Atmahanam murderer of sons. Mahan very great. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, although Krishna, who was examining Arjuna in religion, encouraged Arjuna to kill the son of Dronacharya, Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although Ashvatam was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members. Just read it again. Although Krishna, who was examining Arjuna in religion, encouraged Arjuna to kill the son of Dronacharya, Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although Ashvatam was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members. Purport. Arjuna was a great soul undoubtedly, which is proved here also. He is encouraged herein personally by the Lord to kill the son of Drona. But Arjuna considers that the son of his great teacher should be spared, for he happens to be the son of Dronacharya, even though he is an unworthy son, having done all sorts of heinous acts whimsically for no one's benefit. Lord Sri Krishna encouraged Arjuna outwardly just to test Arjuna's sense of duty. It is not that Arjuna was incomplete in the sense of his duty, nor was Lord Sri Krishna unaware of Arjuna's sense of duty. But Lord Sri Krishna put to the test many of his pure devotees, just to magnify the sense of duty. The gopis were put to such test as well. Prahlad Maharaj was also put to such a test. All pure devotees come out successful in the respective tests by the Lord. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapatanyena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadhamayam Dadati Swam Patantikam Namo Vishnivadai Krishna Vastai Bhutale Shimai Satsrupdas Goswami Itinamane Namo Vishnivadai Krishna Vastai Bhutale Shimai Bhaktivedanta Swami Itinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvashesha Sunivadi Prastyatara Chatarine. Just the there's a lot of words here in the purport which, or actually in the text, which can be translated. I actually was able to translate Sutta, obviously, Sutta Goswami. Uvacha said, Evam this, Parikshita, which means somebody who's examined. That's Maharaj Parikshit. He's examining everybody to see is this the person that he saw who saved him in the womb. Dharmam, in the matter of duty. Yeah. Partha, that's Arjuna. Krishnena, by Krishna. Chodita, that's a word that we know from the Gayatri Mantra, being encouraged. Now, Aichchat, no, I didn't know that one. Did not like. Hantam, we did know that one, to kill. Guru Sutam, that's the son of the teacher, Guru Sutam. Yadyapi, although I didn't know that one. Atmahanam, it's another killing. So it means the murderer of sons. And Mahan, very great. So it's a good few I got out of that. So although Krishna, who was examining Arjuna in religion, encouraged Arjuna to kill the son of Dronacharya, Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although Ashvatam was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members. So this is kind of, again, it's a very interesting dilemma that's going on, because previously Krishna was he was encouraging Arjuna to fight, and Arjuna did fight on the battlefield, and he killed absolutely tons of his family members, his cousins, his grandfather. Basically it was non-stop. So here suddenly Krishna again encourages Arjuna to fight and to kill, but Arjuna is reluctant. So that's quite an interesting change of affairs after killing literally many Akshahinis, 64 million or something people, involved in the killing of 64. Suddenly there's this one person who's absolutely broke all the rules of Dharma, practically even more than anybody else. Even Duryodhana was dissatisfied with him. Then this person now, Arjuna is having a difficulty to kill him. So why is that? That's just a question. And another interesting point here is that Krishna is telling Arjuna what to do. I mean, who wouldn't like if Krishna came to you and said, okay, now do this, We're forever, wondering, should I do this or should I do that? Or is this what Krishna really wants me to do? Is this really me? Am I really fulfilling my dharma here by doing this for Krishna? So here's Krishna comes along and tells him to do something, but it's actually not really what Krishna wants him to do. So that's another layer that you have to get through, or that Arjuna has to get through, is that and this is a characteristic of Krishna which we'll see, which we'll also see in our own lives, is that Krishna is testing us. You know, he's testing us. He's giving us a facility to go ahead and do something, but then he wants to see how we act. But does he not know what we're going to do? Well, there you go. That's the dynamic of the relationship with Krishna. You know, Krishna knows everything, does he? Well, why does he? You know, trying to test us to see how we act. He'll know how. He knows how we'll act. But he wants us to learn, because Krishna is the teacher as well. Krishna is a teacher. He wants us to actually make the right decisions. He wants us to, you know, he wants us to to purify ourselves, because Krishna is the supreme purifier. That's why we're here in this world, is so that we actually can purify our existence, so that we can act properly. Why? So that we can go back to the spiritual world again and act properly. So there's all these different dynamics that are going on here, and so this is Krishna is showing that things aren't just completely, totally, utterly straightforward as it may seem from time to time. Why don't you do that? It's very obvious that's what Krishna wants you to do. But actually, we're very expert at knowing what Krishna wants everybody else to do, but we're not always that expert at knowing what Krishna wants us to do. Or even if we think that we know what Krishna wants us to do, it may not be what Krishna wants us to do, and we may have to learn. If we look at the whole history of ISKCON, what is it, 50 years, 66, it's coming up soon, the incorporation of ISKCON. So many different things went on. We have the, after, especially obviously after Srila Prabhupada left, we had the whole zonal acharya system, which on the face of it seemed to work really well for a while. We had an absolutely humongous amount of book distribution went on. There was tons and tons of people were joining the Hare Krishna movement. But then it sort of came to a certain head, and then as people started to leaving the movement en masse, people stopped joining, and there was a lot of infighting in the whole Krishna consciousness movement. So why did Krishna let that happen? I mean, we could go back to the history of the whole Gaudiya Math, and from being an absolutely 60,000 disciples that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj made, and he had tons and tons of book presses going on all over India, so many maths, and then suddenly that all completely ground to a halt. So so you might wonder then, well, why does Krishna let this thing happen? Why did we not hear what Krishna was telling us at the time? You know? So therefore, we maybe think that we know exactly what should be going on and what should be happening, but we have to really examine it very, very carefully. We have to be very, very sharp in knowing what Krishna wants us to do. We have to be able to be Shastra Chakshu. We have to be able to see what is going on at different times. And then there's so many other factors involved in how we act and in coming to decisions. It may even be that we know what the right thing to do is, but we may not do it in the right way. In doing the right thing, we may insult devotees, we may blow out devotees, we may commit offences. So, but this is the right thing to do, Krishna, you know. So there's so many different factors involved. There's dharma, there's knowledge, but also there's etiquette, there's culture, how we behave in different situations. This is something which generally has to be learned. Our own Bhakti Tirumaj Maharaj, of course, was renowned for culture in ISKCON. He came to Ireland in 1990, and he was the co-GBC with Preeti Prabhu. And the first thing, like for practically, he was only here for a year, but constantly his thing was about don't commit offences, don't criticise, don't this, you know. He was absolutely, in his mild way, he was absolutely ruthless in presenting this point. Of course, one of the other points he made is that, of course, if you see the faults in other people, that you're actually just calling for those faults to come into you. It's like, please come into me, all these faults. which isn't a very smart thing to do. So he was very much thinking about the welfare of the devotees, because obviously he saw that was going on. So that was the culture which wasn't there in ISKCON, and actually it really took hold actually previous to that. It was starting to come down around that time as well, because there was a whole change in ISKCON in 86, 87, when we had the whole kind of reeling in of the Acharya stroke guru system, the zonal Acharya system, and then it was replaced by a more sensible, a more broad-ranging and a more realistic view of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And again, so many of them who fought for that were very, very relieved that the previous system was discarded with. So we have to know what Krishna wants us to do. So Krishna is testing. This is my point. Krishna is testing as we go along, and as we can see here, he hasn't made it easy. It's like, my God, you have Arjuna here. His sons have been killed by this character in front of him. I mean, we have to look at the whole psychology here, because Arjuna grew up with this person Ashvatam. Ashvatam was with him practically all the time when he was growing up, because Dronacharya was there all the time. So Dronacharya was teaching all the princes, so he's teaching his own son as well. So Ashvatam is he's a person that Arjuna knows very well, and even more incredible, of course, is that, as we'll see later on, when Ashvatam is dragged into the assembly in front of Draupadi, Draupadi is the person who was going to. He promised he would put the head down under while she was showering, and she could stand on this head. Do you know? So, but instead, when Ashvatam is brought into the assembly, the first instinctive reaction of Draupadi is to bow her head. Bow her head to the person who's just killed her 5 children. So we have to marvel at the etiquette and the culture that's going on at this particular point, because Krishna is saying here that this person should be killed. But then let's look at the psychology of Ashvatam. I mean, first of all, his father was killed unfairly on the battlefield by Krishna. Krishna gave the word how to kill him, because they couldn't kill Dronacharya. They couldn't kill him because he was unconquerable. He was such a great warrior. He was the teacher of Arjuna, so he was this amazing character. He couldn't be killed on the battlefield until Krishna explained how he could be killed. So they had to bend the rules a little bit for that to happen. And then Ashvatam's other teacher, who was Duryodhana, he was also killed unfairly by being hit below the belt, which was against the rules and regulations. The other the leader, Karna, was also unfairly killed because he was just trying to put get back onto his chariot so that he could continue with the fighting. So there's 3 instances. Ashvatam, surely he feels aggrieved at this situation. But there is an interesting aspect to all of these things, because Krishna ordained those things. He ordained those killings. So therefore, it was authorized by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But what about Ashvatam's killings? Were they authorized by Krishna? On one level, yes, but on the main level, no, definitely not. So Krishna actually wanted this person killed because he didn't follow Krishna's instructions. Previously, although it seems that the rules were being bent, Krishna actually authorized it. But in this case, no, he didn't. And Ashvatam, because he felt aggrieved at the so-called injustices that were done to him, he didn't listen to Krishna. Krishna's in his heart as well, but he didn't listen to Krishna, and he lost it. He absolutely lost it. He went on a killing rampage. First of all, he tried to kill he killed so any of the remaining warriors, and then he killed, in the dead of night when the war was over. Then he killed the sleeping sons, thinking that he had killed the 5 Pandavas, which he hadn't. And then on top of that, even after doing all those heinous things, he tried to kill Parikshit, who was the last remaining member of the dynasty. And Krishna on that occasion had to come in and stop that whole situation. So we can see that Ashwatthama was behaving abominably. If there was no authorization, even Duryodhana didn't stand over it. It was such a disaster. So this person should be totally removed from the society, completely for his own good. So this is the logic that was going on at those situations. But there are still, on top of that, Arjuna is hesitating, Draupadi is hesitating, Yudhishthira is hesitating. So why? Why don't they see what we can so plainly, clearly see? What Krishna can see, Bhima can see. What's wrong? What's wrong with you guys? Here we see also the power of Draupadi. Draupadi is an incredible lady. She actually stood up, especially when she was being disrobed in the assembly. And in fact, this whole war, 64 million people were killed because Dushishan touched her hair. So what sort of culture is going on there? Any disrespect to a woman was dealt with in such a harsh way that 64 million people had to die. That shows you the character which was going on at that time. So, and even when it was being done in the assembly, we had one of the Mahajans there. Bhishma was there. Bhishma was actually there witnessing the whole event. Dronacharya was there witnessing the whole event. So these two characters were there. These two, one of them is Mahajan, one of them is the greatest warrior. And still, they didn't do anything to stop the blind king who was proceeding, and his blind son Duryodhana. And the other blind son, Dushishan, who was performing the abominable act. And Yudhishthira was there after gambling away his right. Why could he not see differently? Why did he still take instruction from the blind king? What would you have done in that situation? Anyway, you don't have to answer them. And Bhimasena just wanted to destroy and pulverize the lot of them. He just wanted to get in. Arjuna was there, the great warrior. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, we had to wait for this to happen. So many other things had to happen before the actual the righteousness would be restored. So what went on in the meantime? What went on? So much went on. So our estimation of time and how things should happen and how this should be sorted now, this should happen now according to my understanding. Sometimes it takes a while to understand the slow machinations of how Krishna works. So that's why with experience and age we begin to see sometimes a little bit more clearly than we do in youth how actually things go on. And that's why in this culture as well there is a respect for age, because the understanding is that that with age should come experience, and that's why this culture was all about that. Another reason therefore though that Draupadi stood up in that assembly and asked for them to help her, but nobody could help her. And even she tried to help herself by holding onto her sari, but nobody could help her. But the minute she called for Krishna, then Krishna came. Well, not exactly the minute, but when Krishna knew that she totally depended on him, so Krishna came. So you can imagine what type of relationship is there between Krishna and Draupadi. They are very, very, very close relationship. Krishna is the supreme protector in that situation, as we can see. But also in this situation, Draupadi is calling for leniency for Ashwatthama. But who is Draupadi? Let's examine who Draupadi is. Draupadi is the daughter of Drupad. She's the daughter of Drupad, and she's the brother of Drishtadumna. It's the sister of Drishtadumna. And what did she do? And what did Drishtadumna do? He just killed Dronacharya, on the battlefield, unfairly. And her father wanted the death of Dronacharya. So her family members definitely wanted the death of Dronacharya. So who's this other rascal, the son of Dronacharya? Why would she not feel absolute, complete disregard for him? Why would she not want to just completely obliterate this character? Seeing that all her family members wanted to, had insulted her family and wanted it to be done with. Well, one of the answers of that is, of course, is that she had complete sympathy for Dronacharya's wife, her, in one sense, her aunt, her guru as well, because Dronacharya's wife would have committed sati, or accept that Ashwatthama was alive. Because Ashwatthama was still alive, she didn't go into the pyre with Dronacharya. So it wasn't. So that would have been a great relief for her, because not only would she have left with Dronacharya, but she would not have witnessed the heinous activities of her son. So now she was doubly, completely taken, because it's not that she could then subsequently jump into the pyre and then that was it. No, the pyre was gone. You had one opportunity. You know, it's a very immediate thing. You know, the husband is there. He's been burning. Then that's the time that you go. That's when the auspicious time is. That's according to this culture. But she had missed that, and she had to stay on here. She obviously would have probably loved to have gone in that sense, not to stick around any longer. Her husband had just left. No, she stuck around because her son was still alive, and this son has just done this. So now, so what could she do now? If her son went, she couldn't. She would still have to exist without her son. So Draupadi is thinking in this way as well. You know, she's going to have to exist without her son. Of course, she has her husband still there, and you know, it shows you the complexities. She also was because of her female nature. She respected Dronacharya, even though her father wanted him dead. Her brother was born to kill him. Still, she respected Dronacharya after the battle. The war was over. She wasn't a warrior on the battle, obviously, but now she wanted to not disrespect, because the guru was there in the sun. That's the point as well. Because she was so ingrained in the etiquette, the guru was there in the sun, and she just didn't. She couldn't do it. She just couldn't do it. Arjuna had to do it, but somehow or other, he had to do it and still satisfy his wife in the way that she felt, and satisfy Yudhishthira and so on, because the war was over. So these are all the different complexities that were going on at the time. Why Arjuna getting a direct instruction from Krishna and says, "No, I don't think I'll do that," you know, or somehow or other I can't do that exactly as he wants it. So, but in fact, what was happening here is that Krishna was being tested. So previously, a lot of the other classes that I've been given has been about the point of us trying to act as a servant of Krishna. You know, how do we get to that platform where we can just act as servants of Krishna? But this is one of the things which happens, is that we will be tested, and one of my obviously favourite mentors, Manu Prabhu, used to talk about this all the time, about being tested by Krishna. In fact, he used to quote this example of the Pandavas constantly, you know, especially because when people come to Krishna consciousness in the beginning, you know, everything is wonderful and they think everything's going to be great, and they're wondering why everything isn't all joy and laughter and everything is wonderful, 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 wonderful. And then reality kicks in, and then we're tested by Krishna, and then suddenly we see what's happening, and all of these things are happening to me. You know, I thought I was a devotee of Krishna. I thought this was meant to stop. No, then this tests come in, and this is Tribhuvan's one of his favourite phrases. He used to, I quote Prabhupada, he says that you will be tested by fire. So tested by fire. That's pretty austere. Are you sure everybody still want to be a devotee of Krishna? You know, you've still got a chance to get out there, folks. You have a chance to not be tested by fire. Well, you don't really, but anyway, best to be tested by fire by Krishna than to be kicked by Maya. So so this test goes on. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that we're gives the example of Arjuna, gives the example of Prahlad Maharaj, gives the example of the gopis. Now we might all think, well, the gopis, that's not too bad. Maybe that test would be okay. Anyway, we won't go there. They were also they had so many tests, the gopis, but they were totally in bliss. These tests made them totally blissful. Prahlad Maharaj thrown under elephants, dropped from tops of cliffs. You know, so many different tests, but he was not even aware of these things happening because he was so much absorbed in Krishna. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, so many tests before he was 70 years old, coming to the West to try to spread this message. So these tests are going on all of the time. So there's these two verses. So we actually ourselves we want to be able to pass the tests because we want to act purely in the service of Krishna. And even if we're somewhat self-motivated in that situation, because we want to be ourselves, we don't want to be something else. We don't want to be a product of our karma, you know. We don't want to just be a product of our conditioning, or a product of the age, or a product of Google or Facebook or the news, or you know, we're trying to be ourselves, and this is so the price of that is the price of this purity, is that we initially begin by the process of sadhana bhakti yoga, and I've noticed that if anybody has studied the Bhagavad Gita, the first 6 chapters in Bhagavad Gita. Sorry, I just have to adjust myself here. The first 6 chapters in Bhagavad Gita, in the purports, Srila Prabhupada uses a lot of different verses from the Padma Purana, from the Bhagavatam, from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, from different sources basically. And it's very interesting that the ones that he uses, because my take on it is that he's using these for a reason. They've got to be very important, because this is the most important book. You know, you can study all the different masses of other books, but Bhagavad Gita is the most important book, and it is the one which you can use the most when you're spreading Krishna consciousness, when you're speaking to people about Krishna. Because not only is it basic, but it is totally profound, you know. And so therefore my point is that in order for us to develop purity and to act in Krishna consciousness, we have to perform sadhana bhakti according to the scriptures and according to the Guru. So a lot of the verses that Prabhupada quotes here in this section have to do with that, and how we perform our sadhana bhakti, our Krishna consciousness, so that we can actually the real self in relationship to Krishna can come out. So I'll just quote a few of those verses. Some of them are quite famous. Shruti smriti purana di pancharatra vatimvina akaite hare bhaktir utpatayaiva kalpate. And that is devotional service to the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Puranas and the Narada Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. So that's the first thing that we can get from Srila Prabhupada, is that we have to follow according to authority, so authorized in an authorized fashion. So that's why it is very, very important for us to study the scripture as much as possible, to consult and to speak with the devotees. And you see, it's the book Bhagavat, but it's the person Bhagavat, because with the person Bhagavat we get to see how the person behaves. We get to understand how devotees actually interact. This is so important, because we're brought up in a world to act as karmis, you know, how to exploit each other and how to be expert at exploiting each other. That's what the teaching is. That's what the whole school system is about, how to become a great karmi, had to become an expert karmi and had to have a big house, a big this, big, This is what the whole of the education is about. So, unfortunately, we can actually bring some of that stuff in with us into the Krishna consciousness movement and putrefy it rather than purify it. So, what we need to do is we've got to learn how devotees act. So that's why the association of devotees is so important. So many devotees talk about the devotees together. It's like a bundle of stones that they have to get together, and then they take the rough edges off each other. There's so many different examples like that of devotees, of association of devotees. But anyway, there's different examples, but definitely we get to associate with elevated devotees, and then we can see their interaction. Been reading a lot recently and thanking devotees for putting up the verses about the Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, about his constant. My few experience of in relation to him was very very valuable. I found him an incredible person to be with, because the heart of a devotee is very powerful, and to be in the association of somebody like that was even however brief it was very important. So therefore we have to Shruti Smriti Purana-di Pancharatra Vidim Vana Haikantir Harir Bhaktir Utpata Yaiva Kalpate. So that's one verse that Prabhupada puts in that place. So it's a very important verse. Another verse, Atashi Krishna Namadi Nambavad Griyam Indraya Sivan Mukhe Jivado Swayameva Puratyataha. That's the tongue. Use the tongue to chant Hare Krishna, and that way we'll be able to understand Krishna. So the exact translation of this, there's two translations in this. So this is a very important verse because Prabhupada uses it twice in this first 6 to 7 chapters. One translation he says is that no one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself. Look, it's such an important word. He reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service to him. So we're trying to be ourselves. We're trying to get that nugget of personality that we are, but Krishna reveals himself to us, and that's how we actually can get it. So we have to become ourselves, come into situations whereby Krishna will reveal himself to us. Now, Prabhupada actually translates that again, that section even slightly differently. Where did I get it? I actually had it. Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't actually write it down. What an idiot. I won't be able to find it, but he says, Prabhupada says that by intense devotional service, he puts it like that. We really like it's not just that he's by blunt materials, but he reveals himself to devotees, being pleased with them. I don't know how I managed to do something so silly as that. Anyway, I think I'll try to get it. 227 might be one of them. Sorry for holding you back here, lads and ladies. Sorry, luck is not on my side. Preparation should have been on my side, but it's Atashi Krishna Namadi Nabhavad Griyan Indriyai Sevan Mukhe Sajiva Jivado Swayameva Swarach. So that's one of the most important verses Prabhupada says. So you can't understand Krishna by your blunt senses, but Krishna will reveal himself to you by if we perform transcendental service, which begins with the tongue. Okay, another verse, very very important. This is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Our Acharya Rupa Goswami has said this. Of course, at the moment we're studying in the Nectar Devotion. But this verse, the translation of it is Anya Bilasita Sunyam Gyana Karma Janavitam Anukulyana Krishnano Shilanam Bhaktarutama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruit of activities or philosophical speculation. This is called pure devotional service. So that this is, I think Prabhupada actually quotes this a couple of times here as well, and that means that our natural tendency is to look for profit, or is to try to try to work out who Krishna is through our intellect. So Srila Prabhupada is saying here, and Rupa Goswami is making very clear the point that we will not be able to perform pure devotional service that way. So in other words, we have to become free of those things in order to actually start to experience on a pure platform. So now we were talking about Krishna, how Krishna is testing us. Prabhupada uses another verse here from the Bhagavatam, and it's about the intimate relationship between Krishna and his devotees. So this is probably just a glimpse of where we want to get to in the future. The devotees are always in my heart. I am always in the hearts of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything beyond me, and I also cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees in full knowledge are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me. Sadhavo hridayam mayam sadhunam hridayam tvaham mananyate na jananti naham tepyo manangapi 9468. So now we can understand somewhat why these great devotees, even when they're in the most difficult situations, they're thinking of Krishna and Krishna is thinking of them. So they have an absolutely intimate relationship with Krishna. And if they have an intimate relationship with Krishna, you have an intimate relationship with everybody else. If you want to know how to behave, then just behave with Krishna, then you'll know how to behave with everybody else. You know, it's an incredible thing. If you want to know how to act, you'll act from that relationship with Krishna, because Krishna will prompt you from within, and he will give you direction from within. And then this famous verse, then a little bit further on. Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udarati tivrena bhakti yogena yajate parishamparam. And this is kind of going that the other one was a very intimate relationship. This is where we're not in such a great relationship with Krishna, where it says that whether one is free from material desires, whether is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should in all cases surrender to Vasudeva and worship him. That's stated in the Bhagavatam 2.3.10. So this is more the situation of the practicing devotee, the sadhaka bhakti, and even beyond that, not even at that stage. But it says that we should always make Krishna the center of our lives. So Krishna is Srila Prabhupada is putting this as another very important verse that he's taking from the Bhagavatam for our viewing and how we should try to live our lives in that way. So I'll be stopping quite soon. So if anybody has any questions, so in the 7th chapter, that's taken from the 7th chapter of the Bhagavatam, but 728 is a very important verse in the persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So this is how we learn how to act properly. This is how we learn who we actually are, how we can act in relationship with Krishna. It is, as I was saying, is through purification. And we have acted piously in previous lives or in this life, and we are freed from the dualities of delusion. So Krishna has got rid of all of these things. We're freed from these dualities of delusion, and then we engage ourselves with determination in Krishna service. So it all hinges around performing devotional service. This is what Krishna is saying. And even if we haven't, Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaha mitimanyate. We have to get beyond that, acting just based on the modes of material nature. That's the kind of the low stage, These things are there. We're not purified yet. We're trying to get on the pure side by practice, and so that Krishna will reveal himself to us. And so we're trying to focus on Krishna. So a lot of these books, a lot of these lessons from Krishna are, and from the Bhagavatam, from the spiritual guides, is to focus on Krishna, so that we absolutely spend so much time thinking about Krishna. So these are the lessons that are here in the books. 280. This is in the 6th chapter. And Dikalana Nivachane Krishna Chetos Vidhayacha Tanmayo Bhavati Shipram Jat Jivo Bhuvati Jao Jayat. This is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu again. By concentrating one's attention on the transcendental form of Krishna, who is all-pervading and beyond time and space, one becomes absorbed in thinking of Krishna and then attains the happy state of transcendental association with him. So this is one on the higher scale again of meditating on Krishna. Instead of all other types of meditation, the Bhagavatam is just encouraging us to meditate on Krishna, to spend all our time just to somehow or other meditate on Krishna. In that way we'll become, we develop our transcendental association with Krishna. On the other side of that, more of an instruction on the the sadhana side, we have the instructions from in the Bhagavatam from King Rishabhadev, as famous instruction: Nayam deho deha bhajan nirloke kastan kaman arhita vidbhutam te tapodavyam putakayena sadvam sujed yasmad brahmasokyam tvanantam. And he says, my dear sons, put these glasses ready. There is no reason to labour very hard for sense pleasure while in this human form of life. Such pleasures are available to the stool eaters. Rather, you should undergo penance in this life, by which your existence will be purified, and as a result, you will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. So this is King Rishabhadev's instruction for us to be purified. He says you should undergo penances in this life. Tapo divyam, divine penances, divine austerities, by which your existence will be purified. Don't be like the stool eaters. Don't follow the instructions from the universities to go and try to enjoy your senses. This is the instruction for the stool eaters. Don't be like a pig. Don't be like a hog. So these are the other instructions that we have to keep on presenting to ourselves, because we're sense enjoyers. It's been in us from time immemorial. We're trying to get rid of this tendency. So hear the messages of the Bhagavatam. Then we have this further, a little bit further. Sorry, these glasses are absolutely useless, by the way. 227. In the same chapter, Nainam pramate kuruto gavakarmaya idriyana pritya aprinoti nasadamanye yata atmano yamasana pikleshita dasa eteha pabhavas tavata bodha jato yavanna jigyasata atmatatvam yavat kriyastabadidam manovai karmatmakanye nasadira banda evam mana karma visham payunte avidjatman manya upadyamane patirna yavanma ivasudevena muchate deha yogena tavat. And again, this is the instruction from King Rishabhadev. People are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification. And as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence. So these are the words Prabhupada is using. These are the sections that he's taken from the Bhagavatam. And this particular section, I know, you can tell by the way Prabhupada pronounces these things, how he loves this section of the Bhagavatam. You know, the section where King Rishabhadev is telling the devotee, telling his sons not to be like the stool eaters. and to purify yourself. So Prabhupada wants us to purify ourselves so that we can understand our real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification. So that should be our goal, to try to live out our real identity, to be a pure devotee, because that's actually what Prabhupada wants us to become. He wants us to become pure devotees and to act on that platform so that we can actually be of benefit to ourselves, but also benefit to others. There is so many other verses there. Iha yasya harer dasya, in other words, to be jivan mukta even while in this body, to be self-realized. These are the verses about Ambarish Maharaj, where Ambarish is using his senses in the service of the Lord. You know, Prabhupada has given us those instructions. That there's the one Utsaham Nishtaya Daryat, where he's teaching us with determination and enthusiasm to perform devotional service. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Velochanena, so to see Krishna with the eyes imbued with the salve of love. And then of course there's the famous section. I probably won't just get it here, it's also very late, but Prabhupada has used it twice. He's used it in his I know it is in 7.1 in the purport. He's used is the verse which is telling us that Krishna purifies in our heart from the person who wants to hear the messages of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which are in themselves pure when properly heard and chanted. So I just thought I'd do a little resume. Obviously the time was against me and I was rushing a bit much, but the whole idea there was just to show how this section is so much important. We were talking of late, I think we talked about it on the Saturday class, about how to be ourselves, the purification, how to get to that platform. All that section, first 6 chapters, 7 chapters, all the verses Prabhupada uses in that time, and I try to take those verses and present them. These are the verses in which we can act in that way, so that we can become the pure devotee, which we want Krishna to give us the tests. We want to say to Krishna, bring on the tests, don't we? Just like Queen Kunti, so that we can actually serve Krishna properly. Okay, I'll stop there. Is there any comments, any questions?
Yeah, there's a question from Sri Rupa. He says, Hare Krishna, Manu Prabhu, brilliant class. Great points, especially like the one you said, how we relate to Krishna will be how we relate to others. Please, Prabhu, would you say more about this?
Yeah, that's really interesting. How we relate to Krishna will determine how we relate to others. Yeah, it kind of goes back to that point I was thinking again about when you mix with elevated souls, you know. That's how they're elevated, because they're relating with Krishna, and what they see as important is what they give, because generally those great souls, the Mahatmas, you know, they're giving you their heart, you know, because it's an actual and emotional thing, you know. In the material world, there is so much exploitation that goes on, and we can see the state of affairs at the moment. Nobody knows what the truth is. Nobody knows who's telling the truth. It's there's as I mentioned the other day, I was speaking to a scientist, and she's thinking she's getting the truth, and she just wants to present it as it is, the facts that she has attained. But those people who have the facts, they're in the you know, she's in the arms of the great illusion person, you know, Krishna she's an illusion, thinking she'll be able to get facts, because she can't. And what to speak of materialists in this world. So basically the point is that people are under the sway of this material energy, the modes of nature, whereas the devotees are not under the sway of the modes of nature. And they're not under the sway of the modes of nature because they purify themselves, taken themselves from the modes of ignorance, passion, goodness, or by the grace of the spiritual master, and by the grace of the guru. And in that way, then they can see that they can see Krishna. You know, they're seeing Krishna with purified senses, and they see Krishna everywhere. In famous verse 630, 631, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I'm never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So that person is visibly seeing Krishna. Sometimes when I see questions being asked of some of the devotees, and I see the way they're responding. It's even better now sometimes when you're seeing it on the screen. You see them actually going through how they're going to answer this question, or how does this relate? How is Krishna going to inspire them to give the answer? So you can actually visibly almost see the Krishna working. And people often say that about Prabhupada, and when they saw Prabhupada, they just saw this glow, and it affected them for the rest of their lives. So when we're in touch with Krishna, then we're also, because Krishna is in the heart of the other person as well. So Krishna wants us both to go back to the spiritual world, and he wants us both to act in according to our actual position. Do you know what I mean? He wants us both to be ourselves, because we are that individual person in the spiritual world. And when two devotees come together and they're discussing, they're both. Do you ever get that? I mean, sometimes when I speak to some devotees, like suddenly it goes off the scale. You're just in a kind of an unlimited ocean, and thoughts are coming to you, ideas, inspiration, different view on things. It does go off the scale, and when some devotees come together and Krishna's just leading the conversation, and Krishna's there in the conversation. He's enjoying the conversation as much as anybody else. So that's why when we're in touch with Krishna, that's all we want. We don't want anything else. We've got ourselves out of the tyranny of the modes of nature, dragging us back, our conditioning, and Prabhupada has given us indications of that along the way, like all of those verses that I was quoting from chapters 1 to 7, they're all ones that Prabhupada has given along the way, whereby he allows us to get an understanding. What is this like? What should I be expecting? How should I be acting? What are the symptoms of how I should be acting? Let me kind of reach for those. How I can see those symptoms in somebody else. Then how I can be influenced by that person, and how I know who to put myself under the influence of, because I see that person exhibiting those particular qualities. So in that way, I know how to act, and I know who to act with. And then again, of course, the association of devotees is an unlimited thing. There's so much you could say about it. Okay, John, thank you very much for listening. Sorry if I'm talking a little bit low. I was trying to adjust that with the microphone, but it actually I'll need some sort of different microphone for that to work that way. So, may you have a wonderful day. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and we have the pleasure of Tulsi Priya Prabhu giving class again tomorrow. So things are looking up. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.